What's dangerous is when the universe pick you and you put on the magic glasses. There's rules that go with them. You can never take them off. You never see things as they're supposed to be. You see things as they are. You can never force nobody else to wear them.
I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right, but I have my doubts, yeah. During the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I like to go to bed free at night under these stars and stripes. And I have my doubts that we're coming down. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts, but they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out. And I don't understand. Roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have my doubt that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubt. And I have my doubt that we'll make it back out. I have my doubts, so I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. We're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back up. Yes, I have my doubts. So we're all messed up and out of touch. Let's text someone who's in the other room. So don't wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm things I think while I lie awake and contemplate at night are wearing me out.
Good evening. Hope everyone's doing well. Well, got a fair bit of news for you. I've got, it looks like 8 articles up. I probably could have had more articles up. Some of it was kind of beating dead horses, and so even at 8, it's pretty limited. Lot of we'll call it progress in different areas of the news today. Progress not meaning good or bad, some in between. Anyway, I was in and out of news, paying attention. I actually probably spent more time playing a game today than what I've spent in a long time in a single day. I kind of trying to move along. I'm to the next aircraft. It's kind of like an F-15, and I'm on the second mission of it that I haven't been able to beat yet. But I'm learning, I think. So we'll see. I not quite understanding how a dude's getting GPS coordinates in his GPS, just like automatically. So once I figure that out, I'll be in business. But aside from that, like I say, I was peeking in at the news. Some of it's like I say. Some of it's just beating stories with the dead horse. There was it is a big deal to have an aircraft taken down. Apparently there was an aircraft that went down. There was 65 Ukrainian POWs on board, in which they've all lost their life. Just crazy stuff. We've got the British Army Chief. What is this cat's name again? Sir Patrick Sanders. Make sure you say Sir. Sir Patrick Sanders is telling people to prepare for general conscription. That is the draft in their terms. Telling people to do it for king and... He didn't cough, but for king and nation without the cough. And, wow. That is definitely a language that shows a direct future, to be honest. I don't know at this point that it much matters what Russia does. I think that NATO has their heart set on going to war with Russia. And I think what they're doing now is spending time trying to get as many pieces of equipment and munitions and all of that in place for this battle. And I think that's what they're doing now is they're beating around the bush trying to buy themselves time to get ready. I think you're going to see governments around the world basically putting their people on notice. That's certainly what's going on here. I expect we'll probably see it here sooner than later. But anyway, let's cover these 8 articles I have open and then read the headlines and then run away. I don't want to do it anymore. You know. Let's see. Very bad development. British Army Chief tells people to prepare for general conscription for king and nation. I don't know. You just have to emphasize that. It seems like a big deal, right? For king and nation. You got to put the echo in there, though. It's not good without the echo. And all this coughing, man, you would think a king would take better care of his health. There is great... Damn, that bastard smokes more than I did. Anyway, there's great concern in Britain. Hang on. I've got dry in my throat. Blue's over there with a voodoo doll digging at the throat. That's what it was. There is great concern in Britain from the lightning bolt unleashed by the Chief of British Army, Sir Patrick Sanders, who asked the people to prepare for general conscription in a war against Russia. Sir Patrick Sanders spoke of a citizen army while introducing the term pre-war generation, stressing that preparatory steps must be taken to enable our societies to be put on a war footing. His speech has caused a huge shock in the UK. Almost all the British media are dealing with these statements. Shortly before Sir Patrick Sanders' speech, the Daily Telegraph reported that the Chief of the British Army will make his appeal to ordinary Britons in the International Armoured Vehicle Conference in Twickenham today. Twickenham. Remember that time we went to Twickenham? Me neither. The head of Britain's armed forces then called on British authorities on Wednesday to mobilize the nation to prepare for war with Russia. The people of Great Britain should prepare to serve in the armed forces in the event of a general war with Russia, the head of the British Army, Sir Patrick Sanders, has warned. While not advocating general conscription, Sanders stressed the need for a switch flip in the minds of the British public to be psychologically ready for a military conflict with Russia. Mentally prepared. The Chief of the British Army emphasized that the British could be called to fight for king and country in the event of a war with Russia. And that's because the army is too small to handle an escalation over Europe on its own. General Sir Patrick Sanders, Chief of the General Staff, stressed the need for ministers to mobilize the nation in the event of a wider conflict against Russia. He also warned that increasing the size of the army in preparation for a conflict would be a nationwide undertaking. General Sir Patrick, who has been openly critical of the military's understaffing, believes there should be a change in the public mindset that they should be willing to defend the UK against foreign adversaries. This news comes as NATO officials have already warned allied nations to be prepared to take all necessary actions to counter Russia. Ordinary citizens should be trained and equipped to fight in the army in the event of war with Russia, Britain's army chief has said. Now, are they going to be able to carry, pocket knives again? I'm curious. How's that on gun laws? And you want them to be trained with what? Let us know, because you banned everything. Anyway, the comments first reported by Daily Telegraph are seen as a warning that British men and women should be ready to be called up to the armed forces if NATO goes to war with Vladimir Putin. Comments come after Defense Secretary Grant Shapps said in a speech last week that we are moving from a post-war to a pre-war world, and that the UK must ensure the entire defense ecosystem is ready to defend the homeland. Speaking at the International Armoured Vehicles Conference in West London, Sir Patrick said the UK urgently needed to expand the size of its army to just around 120,000 from around 74,000 today. But he said this is not enough, and that training and equipping a citizen army must follow. He pointed out that this is happening across Europe, telling the audience, our friends in Eastern and Northern Europe who feel more acutely the proximity of the Russian threat are already acting wisely, laying the groundwork for national mobilization. As the chairman of NATO's military commission warned just last week, and as the Swedish government has done, taking preparatory measures to enable our societies to be ready for war when needed is now not just desirable but necessary. Sir Patrick added, "We will not be immune, and as a pre-war generation we must prepare ourselves in the same way. And this is a whole nation undertaking. Ukraine brutally shows that regular armies start wars, citizen armies win them." Oh, that's supposed to. Oh yeah, we can do it. We can do it. Let me at him. Let me at him. We must win wars on land. Well, I mean, it was emphasized in the article, so. In his speech today, Sir Patrick said Britain cannot rely on its navy and air power, arguing we must be able to reliably fight and win wars on land. He specifically said, "We need a military designed to deploy rapidly to activate the first echelon, supply the second echelon, and train and equip the citizen army that must follow." Go get 'em to the barrier! Oh, anyway, grab your muskets, good men! I mean, well, somebody might do it. Big moron, but that's all he got's muskets at this point. Within the next 3 years, it must be credible to talk about a British army of 120,000 redeploying to our reserve and strategic reserve, but that is not enough. Yeah, but how is the citizen army going to fight without guns? Bang! Right? They need bang, or else they'll get banged. What's coming on the horizon will shock us. No, that's the sun. It does that like every day. Tobias Elwood, a former defense secretary who served alongside Sir Patrick, oh, not that guy again, said the military leader should be listened to carefully. What is coming on the horizon should shock us, it should worry us, and we are not prepared, he told Sky News. The Bournemouth East MP said that after decades of post-Cold War peace, there was a growing sense that authoritarian states could take advantage of our audacity, perhaps our reluctance to actually put out because we're not cheap and easy. Oh, fires. Pointing to Russia's attack on Ukraine. And you are cheap and easy. So Patrick Sanders is saying prepare for what's coming on the horizon. There's a 1939 feel to the world right now, he said. Why, yeah, I was just about to go get me a zoot suit. Oh. These authoritarian states are rearming. The West avoids the risk of confronting it, and our global institutions, such as the United Nations, are unable to hold these errant nations to account, he added. He said the Army, as well as the Navy, in the Army, it's about half the size it should be, while the RAF lacks the equipment it needs. And the trained pilots, because they're all, like, eating their burgers. Now, anyway, he drew parallels with the 1930s, with the sorrowful state of the UK's armed forces failed to deter Adolf Hitler, saying there was a serious risk of history repeating itself. Dun dun dun. Well, the article didn't have the sound effect, but I felt it was necessary. Next. Are you scared yet? 'Cause I'm supposed to totally scare you or something. Uh-oh. The Pope's warning about perverse deep fakes. Oh my goodness. What, about you at, Epstein Island? Yeah. Righto, Popey on a ropey. 65 Ukrainian POWs killed in Russian plane crash, and apparently it's Ukraine's fault. And I say apparently because I wasn't standing there when it happened. And I'm sure there's going to be back and forth. I mean, I think Ukraine is pretty much already owned up to it. I don't know. I give this stuff at least a couple of days before I really start digging because, you know, I'm not about just rushing out with all kinds of BS information. Not I. Well, I think that who cares? A Russian heavy transport plane carrying several dozen Ukrainian prisoners of war has crashed in Belgorod region, which borders Ukraine. Moscow has confirmed. Damn. Local Governor Vyacheslav Gladkov has said all of those on board were killed. In a statement on Wednesday, the Russian Defense Ministry said that an Il-76 cargo aircraft carrying 65 captured Ukrainian service members as well as 6 crew members and 3 people accompanying the POWs went down during a pre-planned flight at around 11 a.m. local time. It added that the prisoners were being transported to Belgorod region for an exchange. Defense officials also noted that Moscow has dispatched a commission to establish the cause of the incident. Telegram Channel 112, citing a source that earlier reported the crash took place near the village of Yablonova, about 90 kilometers from the border. Meanwhile, Ukraine-based Ukrainskaya Pravda newspaper reported, citing in Kiev's military, that the aircraft had been destroyed by Ukrainian forces, claiming that the plane had been carrying S-300 air defense missiles rather than prisoners. A few minutes later, it removed the mention of Kiev's role in the downing of the aircraft, stating that its military sources had confirmed the crash. Russian MP Andriy Kartapolov said that 2 planes had been carrying Ukrainian POWs and that Moscow had to urgently divert on the second Il-76 with 80 captured troops on board out of the danger zone. The legislators stated that Kiev knew about the impending exchange and had been informed of the flight route, adding that despite the warning, the plane was shot down by 3 anti-aircraft missiles fired from either U.S.-made Patriot or German-made Iris-T systems. Kartapolov asserted that in light of the strategy, any prisoner exchange is out of question for now, suggesting that Kiev had carried out the attack in order to thwart the exchange. So, crazy. There's Iris-T missiles in the game. Fun little short-range heat seekers. Russia destroyed Ukraine's only SAMP-T air defense system. Heavy Ukrainian losses on all fronts. Man. Russian armed forces have for the first time destroyed a French-made SAMP-T air defense system owned by the Ukrainian army. We remind you that Patriot, NASAMS, etc. have already been destroyed. In more detail, the daily report of the Russian Ministry of Defense mentions the first destruction of a SAMP-T air defense system. The Russians do not mention how it was destroyed. According to official data, the Ukrainian armed forces received only 1 SAMP-T and 700 Aster-30 missiles from France and Italy in May last year. French President Emmanuel Macron confirmed their transfer in June 2023. A SAMP-T gunnery consists of the Arabelle long-range radar, the system operator's cage, and the 6 missile launchers. The radar is X-band AESA technology and has a range of 100 kilometers and can track about up to 100 targets. The launchers carry 8 Aster-15 or Aster-30 missiles with ranges of 20 and 120 kilometers respectively. There will be a test. In the Kupiansk direction, the Russian armed forces repelled 5 attacks by Ukrainian attack groups and hit enemy positions in the area of Ivanovka, Berestovo settlements in Kharkiv. The losses of the Ukrainian armed forces amounted up to 175 servicemen, 2 tanks, 5 vehicles, 5 self-propelled artillery units of various types. In the Krasno-Limansk direction, the Ukrainian army lost up to 260 people, 2 tanks, 8 armored vehicles, 9 cars, and a partridge in the pear tree. Some bitch shouldn't have been up there. It's a war zone. The losses of the Ukrainian armed forces in the direction of Donetsk amounted to 220 soldiers, 3 tanks, 8 armored vehicles, and 16 vehicles. Here the Russian armed forces hit Ukrainian formations in the Andriivka and Klashchivka and Kurimovka areas. I'm almost Russian now. In the direction of Donetsk, Polish-made crab gun, you know the crab gun, U.S.-made M777, U.S.-made M119 gun, 1 Mr. B howitzer, 1 Big D20, and 2 Godzilla Givga self-propelled guns were destroyed. Hey, I'm just reading it. In South Donetsk, Russian units defeated the personnel of the 79th Air Assault Brigade of the Ukrainian Armed Forces near the settlement of Novomaykakhovka. Don't ask me to repeat that. My mouth don't normally work like that. Ukrainian army lost up to 105 people, 3 vehicles, 1 British-made FH-70 howitzer, 1 Godzilla self-propelled gun. Oh, wait, that I think I already read. No? I don't know. As a result of military operations in the direction of Zaporozhye, the Russian armed forces hit the personnel of 33 mechanized 120th or 28th Mountain Assault Brigade of the Ukraine Armed Forces and the 3rd Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine. Their positions near the villages of Rabotino and Nestoryanka and Stepovoy were subjected to air raids and artillery bombardment. The Russian Ministry of Defense estimates the losses of the Ukrainian army at 50 people, 2 armored vehicles, 3 cars, and 1 D-20 cannon. Finally, in the direction of Kherson, the Ukrainian army lost 60 personnel, 7 vehicles, and a Zu-23 anti-aircraft gun. In addition, ammunition depots of the Ukrainian armed forces were hit while the air defense forces of the Russian armed forces shot down 2 Tachka-U missiles, 8 HIMARS missiles, and 51 unmanned aerial vehicles. Yeah. You need to remember every bit of that. All right. Okay, half of it. But I'm not telling you which half. Fun times, man. Un momento. No habla English. Hamas leader rules out 2-state solution. He said, hell no, bruh. Senior Hamas official Khaled Mashal has rejected calls for the negotiation of a 2-state peace deal with Israel to end the war in Gaza, proclaiming that the Palestinian people will never legitimize the Zionist entity in West Jerusalem by accepting its existence. We have nothing to do with the 2-state solution, Mashal said in an interview posted on Tuesday by Kuwaiti podcaster Amar Taki. We reject this notion because it means you would get a promise for a state, yet you are required to recognize the legitimacy of the other state, which is the Zionist entity. This is unacceptable. The Middle East Media Research Institute provided an English translation of the interview, which Michel argued that the Hamas attacks on October 7, which triggered the latest war in Gaza, have revitalized the Palestinian dream of wiping out Israel. He insisted that the independent Palestinian nation must extend from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea and from the Lebanese border to the Gulf of Aqaba. I'm sure I said that wrong. I believe that October 7 has enhanced this conviction, has narrowed the disagreements, and has turned the idea of liberating Palestine from the river to the sea into a realistic idea that has already begun, Michel said. It is not something to be merely expected or hoped for. It is part of the plan, part of the agenda, and we are standing on its threshold, a la winning. Michel made his comments as U.S. President Joe Biden and other proponents of a two-state solution stepped up pressure on Israeli leaders to seek a negotiated peace deal with the Palestinians. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rebuffed Washington, insisting that only total victory will ensure the elimination of Hamas and return to all of our hostages. The October 7 attacks left more than, well, it goes into the history of it. I hate when they do that over and over and over. I'm not going to do that over and over and over. Y'all know how we got where we are. Houthis ordered the U.S. and British to leave Yemen. This is going to go over like a fart in church. Yemen's Houthi authorities have ordered American and British nationals working for the UN and other humanitarian organizations based in the capital Sana'a to leave the country within 30 days. The move comes after U.S.-British strikes in the past 2 weeks on military targets of the Shiite movement in Yemen. These strikes came in response to the attacks launched by the Houthis on commercial ships in the Red Sea in recent months. The rebels, who control most all of northern Yemen, which has been at war for about a decade, say they are targeting ships bound for or connected to Israel in a show of solidarity with Palestinians in the Gaza Strip enclave under siege by Israel, which the U.S. strongly supports. The Houthi attacks have forced international shipping companies to change shipping lanes for international trade between Europe and Asia via the Cape of Good Hope, adding time and cost. The U.S. government also last week reinstated the Shiite movement, considered to be close to Iran, on the U.S. list of terrorist organizations. The ministry emphasizes that you must inform officials and workers of American and British citizenship to prepare to leave the country within 30 days, said a letter sent by the Houthi government's foreign ministry to its deputy humanitarian coordinator, UN in Yemen, by Peter Hawkins. This letter also instructs foreign organizations not to hire U.S. and British nationals for their organization activities in Yemen. Houthi spokesman Mohammed Abdul Salam confirmed the authenticity of the letter to Reuters. So, now they're not willing to negotiate. It's going swell, it seems. Nicotine, man. 3 articles left. And this is the last one about war. Yay! Well, unless you're talking about civil war, then maybe not so much. Fun times. Alright. Houthis claim clash with U.S. Navy. At least one of the missiles fired from Yemen on Wednesday afternoon struck an American warship and forced 2 U.S.-owned commercial vessels to retreat, a spokesman for the Houthis has said. The U.S. Central Command claimed that all the incoming missiles had been shot down, however. The Shia group that controls the western part of Yemen, including the capital Sana'a, has been harassing vessels linked to Israel since late October in support of the Palestinians in Gaza. After British and American forces bombed Yemen earlier this month, the Houthis expanded their ban on U.S. and U.K. merchant ships as well. A clash took place today with a number of American destroyers and warships in the Gulf of Aden and Bab el-Mandab, while those ships were providing protection for two American commercial ships, Houthi spokesman Yahya Suri said in a statement. Yes, yeah. Maybe it's Yahya Suri. During the 2-hour clash, a direct hit on an American warship caused the two merchant ships to retreat, Suri added. A number of our ballistic missiles reached their targets despite the attempt of warships to intercept them. CENTCOM, which is in charge of U.S. forces in the area, had a different account of events. However, Iranian-backed Houthi terrorists fired 3 anti-ship ballistic missiles from Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen toward the U.S.-flagged, owned, and operated container ship MV Maersk Detroit, transiting the Gulf of Aden, the U.S. military said on X. One missile impacted the sea. The 2 other missiles were successfully engaged and shot down by the USS Gravely, CENTCOM added. There were no reported injuries or damage to the ship. It was unclear whether the Maersk Detroit had changed course as a result of the attack. The ship's destination, officially listed as Namibia on southwest coast of Africa. Earlier this week, the Pentagon said that its combat operations against the Houthis had been dubbed Operation Poseidon Archer, adding that it was distinct from the Operation Prosperity Guardian, intended to safeguard shipping through the Bab el-Mandeb and the Suez Canal. About 15% of the world's maritime trade passes through the corridor that's in the sights of Houthi missiles. Most commercial shipping companies have already rerouted their vessels around Africa, facing skyrocketing insurance premiums. The Houthis have vowed to continue interdicting ships linked to Israel until the aggression stops and the siege on the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip is lifted. Ready for bed. Get up and get my face blown off some more. It's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. This morning I, like the second attempt to get through the last mission. Okay, so you have different aircraft, and all these different aircraft have their own separate missions. And so I completed all the missions on the first aircraft, and I did that this morning. And it took probably about 35 minutes to do it. And it's a pretty good sized mission. Have to learn your weapons fairly well to get through it all. But all that's good at this point. Somehow had a bunch of crap on my watch. It's probably mud. Alright, let's see. Texas governor defies Biden. Okay, so we haven't really talked about it much, but big back and forth going on. Texas put up their little border deal and to stop the issue, and Supreme Court had said that nope, the federal government can cut it all down, and it's back and forth. We'll see what happens. I think it's pretty crazy. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has refused to back down in his border security role with U.S. President Joe Biden's administration, arguing that regardless of this week's Supreme Court ruling in Washington's favor, his duty to protect his constituents supersedes any federal laws. I agree. The federal government has broken the compact between the United States and the states, Abbott said on Wednesday in a statement. The executive branch of the United States has a constitutional duty to enforce federal laws protecting states, including immigration laws on the books right now. President Biden has refused to enforce those laws and has even violated them. As a result, Abbott claimed more than 6 million illegal aliens have crossed into the U.S. since Biden took office 3 years ago, exceeding the populations of all but 17 states, causing unprecedented harm on the people all across the United States. The federal government's failure to fulfill its constitutional duty has triggered a constitutional right of self-defense reserved to the state, he added. I have already declared an invasion to invoke Texas's constitutional authority to defend and protect itself, the Republican governor said. That authority is the supreme law of the land and supersedes any federal statutes to the contrary. Abbott issued his statement 2 days after Supreme Court ruled that federal border agents must be allowed to remove concertina wire that the state had installed to prevent illegal aliens from crossing its border. The dispute escalated earlier this month when the Texas National Guard seized control of a park, a key border crossing point, and blocked federal officers from accessing the site. The Texas National Guard and state troopers will continue working to secure the border based on the state's right to defend itself in lieu of the federal government doing its job, Abbott said. The Texas Military Department, which includes the state's National Guard units, issued a statement on Tuesday pledging to hold the line to prevent illegal border crossings. We remain resolute in our actions to secure our border, preserve the rule of law, and protect the sovereignty of our state. U.S. Representative Chip Roy, a Texas Republican, applauded Abbott's decision to fight Biden on the border crisis. Washington is forcing our hand, he said, of Monday's Supreme Court ruling. He added, consider that we are a nation so unserious and broken that we are paying Border Patrol to secure the border, but will pay them instead to cut razor wire to stop Texas from trying to do what Border Patrol's core mission is. So, yeah, it's a little screwed up and backwards, that's for sure. Now, I can't imagine anything like this would ever happen. Harvard cancer researchers accused of faking findings. No. A U.S. Cancer Research Center linked with Harvard University has retracted 6 studies and corrected dozens of others after a British scientist discovered their authors falsified data by photoshopping images of cell samples and test results. In a statement to CNN on Monday, the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in Boston said that it was reviewing 50 research papers by 4 of its top scientists. They're probably not so top, including the Institute's CEO, Dr. Lori Glimcher, and its Chief Operating Officer, Dr. William Hahn. 6 manuscripts have retractions underway. 31 have been identified as warranting corrections, and another one remains under examination for an error, a Dana-Farber spokesman told the network. The alleged fabrications were discovered by British molecular biologist and data sleuth Sholto David, who compiled them in a blog post earlier this month. David found that the images in the papers were stretched, spliced, or outright copied and pasted in order to falsify test results. In one instance, a photograph of 4 laboratory mice taken on the first day of research project was seemingly copied and presented as a photo from the 16th day of the project in an apparent effort to falsify claim that a particular treatment had halted the progress of tumors. In another, Dr. Hahn allegedly faked the results of multiple Western blot tests, which are used to detect specific proteins associated with cancer, autoimmune disease, and prion disorders. Billions of dollars were burned for this cancerous trash science, but it made many academic careers. Some got very rich, and the entire dynasties established themselves at Dana-Farber, David wrote in the blog post. Dana-Farber disputed some of David's findings, with its spokesman arguing that some of the data cited was generated in outside laboratories and that image discrepancies can often be erroneously flagged as deliberate fakes. The spokesman did not say whether this was the case for any specific discrepancies highlighted by David. Dana-Farber is a teaching affiliate of Harvard University, and all 4 researchers accused of fraud have faculty appointments at Harvard Medical School. News of the alleged forgeries comes on the heels of a major plagiarism scandal at the university, in which University President Claudine Gay was accused of more than 50 incidents of academic theft, including her doctoral dissertation. While an internal investigation cleared Gay of research misconduct in December, critics claimed that the university rushed its probe in an effort to protect Gay. As new accusations of academic fraud rolled in, Gay resigned earlier this month, having served the shortest presidency in Harvard's 388-year history. So he is out of there. It's crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. You got kids going to community colleges that are more qualified than the kids at Harvard. But got a lot more problems than that on our plate, unfortunately. 8:47. I reckon I can run through these. Put on my running shoes. Alright. EU retail giant accused of sexualizing children. WHO Europe calls for urgent measles vaccination. North Korea fires cruise missiles into the Yellow Sea. Pardon me. Says Seoul. Trump scores key primary win in New Hampshire. Russian coal exports to Southeast Asia surged by nearly 50%, says data. Nearly 50,000 UK businesses on verge of collapse, says a report. Germany issues Ukraine support warning. Moscow won't beg Uncle Sam for forgiveness, says Lavrov. Massive tanker truck carrying liquefied gas explodes. Trump-linked stocks soar. Argentinian workers plan mass protest against Milia's shock therapy. Ukraine a terrorist state, says senior Russian MP. Ukraine rebukes West for endless discussions on munitions. Burger King withdraws Twix to honor dead cat. Watch Palestinians seeking ways to keep in touch with during blackout tell their stories to RT. Russia seizes over 13 billion rubles worth of cocaine for Hunter Biden. Time for West to realize it is helping Nazis, says top Russian MP. Kiev deliberately shot down plane with its POWs, says Moscow. afford to recall nearly 1.9 billion Explorer SUVs to secure trim pieces that can fly off in traffic. So apparently they had a Boeing moment. Kremlin supports MP inquiry over French mercenaries in Ukraine. EU state to give Ukraine $666 million of Russian money, says media. I wonder if that specific number was picked for a reason. Unions sound alarm over EU's industrial collapse. EU prepares new sanctions against Russia, says Financial Times. Kiev attack on POW plane is insane barbarism, says Moscow. Leading U.S. newspaper announces major layoffs. U.S. air carrier finds loose bolts on many of its Boeing jets. Ukrainian military comments on Belgorod plane attack. Houthis. Oh, I covered that one. End of Exocet for Indonesia. It wants to equip 41 ships with new Turkish Atmaca anti-ship missiles. Putin says Egypt is our strategic partner. New Russian nuclear power plant in Egypt. Germany sends 6 Sea King helicopters to Ukraine. When will they be delivered? An article on that. Kiev admitted that it shot down the IL-76. Zelensky and his close core are a legitimate target of Russia. Ukraine is a terrorist state. EU should take cues from RT, says Burrell. Ukraine considers us meat. POW killed in Belgorod crash. And I don't know how he said that if he was killed in the crash. Hamas leader rules out two-state solution. Oh, I covered that. Russia slams British cosplay at UN Security Council. U.S. denies that it's planning to pull out of Syria, says media. Russian and Iranian security chiefs hold extensive talks. TKMS and Thales joint venture to upgrade Miko 200 frigates. Ukraine to shoot down IL-76. The Russian side had not informed us about the transfer of Ukrainian prisoners. Captain of the transporter IL-76 is a hero. He saved an entire village with self-sacrifice. Turkey installs a navigation monitoring system in Katakomina, something. New York Times says North Korean missiles used by the Russians were highly accurate and highly efficient. Russian paratroopers destroy Ukrainian detachment with BMD-3 cannon. Russia destroyed Ukraine's... Oh, I covered that one. Covered those. Zelensky reacts to deaths of POWs in plane crash. Hungary backs new NATO expansion, says Orban. And Pope warns of perverse deepfakes. So, that would be the headlines. And I am going to boogie on out of here and get to bed. I'm a little tired. Anyway, I shall talk 'em to you all tomorrow, God willing. I appreciate everybody coming. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.